Now, this is a matchup we've definitely been waiting for. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Class 3A Division I State Championship Preview Show, brought to you by L4FR Clothing and Power Plus Mouthguard, right here on the LSG Sports Network. And dare I say this is the Sideline to Sideline Bowl? I think we can call it that. Grant Goodwin and I have been talking these two teams all year long. Coach X jokes that we talk about them every week. We also have the Brock and Franklin coaches shows each week here on the network. And so, yeah, we're going to call it Sideline to Sideline Bowl. Either way, this is going to be a great one, and this is going to be a great show. So what we're going to do this show, if this is the first time you've heard one of our preview shows, we are going to have both coaches on, Coach Marc Henry of Franklin and Coach Billy Mathis of Brock. We're going to have shout-outs from the fans, from Brock and for Franklin. Then Grant Goodwin and I are going to break down this game, and he's going to tell me why he thinks who wins. Matt Diggs is going to do the same thing. Coach X is going to give his humorous take as he does each and every week here on the show. And then Chris Daly's also going to give his pick. So it's a lot of picks with some coaches in between, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So how we're going to do this is we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll start off with the head coach of the Franklin Lions, Coach Marc Henry. This interview is being brought to you by Walter Commander and also John Elmore. He's the agency manager for Robertson County Farm Bureau. We'll hear more of him in the break. You can also give him a call, 979-279-3403. You can email him, jlmore@txfb-ins.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Terry Bennett back here on the state championship preview show, Brock versus Franklin, now joined by the head coach of Franklin, Coach Marc Henry. And Coach, first off, before we do anything else, congratulations, 3 straight state championship games. Man, that's got to feel good for the program.
It really does. It's a exciting time of the year for sure, and I couldn't be more happier for these kids and this community and in this school. They've earned every bit of it.
As a coach, for you personally, and this is your second one, how do you feel as a head coach being 2 straight state championship games? Is that one of those things that, as a coach you dream of and all, but are you still doing the whole pinch me, I'm here type of scenario?
Well, a little bit. It's really a blessing and very, very fortunate to be in this situation. But like I've always said, Terry, it's no special secret sauce that I'm doing. It starts with these kids here in Franklin and this coaching staff that I got that I'm very, very blessed with these last 3 years that helped me out tremendously. And it makes it fun to be here, fun to come to work when you have kids like this in Franklin, that just hardworking kids that are ate up with the process of the game and just love the game of football, and these coaches feel the same way. They're a bunch of hardworking guys that I got on staff that love the game and love the process and very, very knowledgeable and love everything about it. So I'm very, very blessed to be here and very, very blessed to have these people surrounding me for sure.
Well, you bring up something, and you talk about the kids loving the program, and I would like to take that a step further. I think in these sometimes cynical times that we live in, you have a core group of kids there that not only love the program, not only love the coach, but legitimately love the town that they represent.
They do. It means something to put on a Franklin football uniform for these kids. Every one of these kids, watched Franklin football in the stands when they were younger, and they still do. These younger kids here in Franklin, they look up to these Franklin high school football players like they're superstars. And because that means a lot to them, and when they get a chance to put on that Franklin jersey, it actually means something to them, and it's pretty fun to witness and watch, and it's pretty cool. So
Well, let's get into the game. Last week, you beat Edna 41-13. They always say, coaches, y'all like to show things late. Look at y'all throwing the ball all over the field, 3 touchdowns through the air. I remember us talking last year in this exact pregame show, and you made the comment like, we can throw if we need to. That's just not what we do. Edna did a good job early, and y'all did able to use the passing game.
We did. Edna had some big old boys up front, and we were having problems there at the beginning of running the football, and they had a really good game plan against us. They were stacking everybody in the box, and but we were very fortunate to be able to come out with our few passing plays and be successful at it. It's something that passing is something we work on a daily basis at practice. It might not look at it like it in game times, but we do. We work on it every single day. And when needed, we can do it and do it successfully. And once we started passing a little bit and having a little success last Thursday night against Edna, those guys started stepping out of the box, and our running game started opening up because they had to respect the pass, and that was a big contribution to these guys of this football team, of how that worked out, and I was proud of them. And like I said, we can use it when needed, and it worked out in our favor against Edna.
Well, and again, give credit to quarterback Lowry, and give credit to your wide receivers Jimenez and Vadro, who they you practice, but they don't get a lot of throws in the game. But in the biggest game up to this point of the year, they come up big.
They did, and I was proud of them. It looked like we did it all year long. That's how successful we were doing it. Now, I'm not saying we threw it all around the whole game, but we threw it just enough to make them honor it, and it turned out nice. And I was proud of these kids and how they stepped up, especially the quarterback, Court Lowry. He had a really good game. He was very poised, and like he's done it all year long. And when his number was called, he did a great job.
Defensively, once again, y'all took on an Edna team that, as you said, was big. And I don't think people understand when we talk about how big their offensive line is. That team is huge. They had a great quarterback in Jaden Clay. And yet y'all, once again, against the high-powered offense, you hold them to 13 points.
Yeah, this defense is playing lights out right now, Terry, and I couldn't be more proud of them. They take a lot of pride in the defense. These guys do, and they know the importance of what the defense means to this team, and they've really stepped up, and they're playing lights out right now. And I couldn't be more proud of the defense and the defensive staff of what they're doing right now. It's pretty special to watch.
All right, let's talk about the state championship game. You're taking on a team in Brock that, in my opinion, y'all mirror each other in a lot of ways and what y'all want to do offensively, and especially what y'all want to do defensively. This Brock defense, it legitimately might be the best defense you're facing this year.
Yeah, they're a special group of guys. We played a lot of good defenses with Columbus and Lorena, and and these guys compare to them very, very much. They're hard-nosed kids that get lined up right, and they play physical football over there in Brock. They're doing something right over there in Brock. They're a traditionally rich school that win a lot of football games, and I'm looking forward to the challenge this Thursday.
Well, yeah, and both programs, y'all don't have to worry about your kids not being there before. You have a system now in place. This is your third straight one. How much easier as a head coach is it when your players kind of know what to expect, the timeline, and all the little things you and I were talking off there? A lot of people don't understand, as a program, how crazy this week is for you guys.
It is. Just that experience alone goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all big-eyed when we get in that big stadium. They know what to expect, and same goes for Brock. They've been there several times here since in recent past also. So both teams are going to know what to expect and know when we get there what to do, and it's kind of a routine that they know everything about. So that obviously helps going into not being there before. So that should be a pretty good deal for us.
As a program, what would it mean? And as a coach, what would it mean for you to get that back-to-back state championship? There's still something special. I mean, the first one's always awesome, but there is still something special about that whole back-to-back.
It is. It'd mean the world to me and this town and this community. We've been hunting for that first championship for years, and we finally got it done last year. And, just winning another one would just put the icing on top of the icing. It's just it'd be sweet, and it'd mean a lot to this community, and it'd mean a lot to the school and these kids and this program. A lot of people said that we could compete in Division I, when we moved up this year. Yeah. And, I couldn't be more proud of these kids of how they responded to that. And we're just trying to show people that we can compete in this division at this level.
Hey, football fans, Christmas is right around the corner. We have the perfect gift for your high school football fan in your life. Friday Night Legends, the board game. With Friday Night Legends, you can play the greatest high school teams of all time against each other based on their real stats. That means you can play the 1989 Odessa Permian Panthers of Friday Night Lights fame against the 2017 Mater Day team and really see who's the better team. Or what about Peyton Manning's Newman High School in New Orleans against Trevor Lawrence's Cartersville, Georgia team? There are thousands of teams in the library from all over the United States. Get your copy of Friday Night Legends at BoardGameLegends.com and be the hero of Christmas morning.
Merry Christmas, George! Hey, it's Big Earl with Bilby Hobby Ranch Real Estate. So proud of the Brock Eagles this year. Great job. Let's take it to state. Bring home the gold ball. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Brock Eagles all the way. Woo!
Terry Bennett back here on the Class 3A Division I State Championship preview show. You just heard one shout out. Here are a couple more Brock Eagles shout-outs from friends and family. The first one is Gavin Cedillo. Good luck to the Brock Eagles and to our son, number 11, Gavin, as they compete for the state championship. This is your time to shine, and we are so proud of your hard work and never give up attitude. Your senior year has been an amazing ride, and we can't wait to see what the future holds for you. We love you, bud. Love Mom, Dad, and Miley. This Brock shout-out is for Carson Finney from his grandmother. She says, number 3, you're the best, so intercept the ball and outrun the rest. Love you, Gigi. That's awesome. She also let me know that she's pretty sure that Carson broke his own record at Brock for number of interceptions in one season. Hey, Carson Finney's an absolute stud, and it wouldn't shock me, but that's from your grandmother, Carson, with lots of love. We'll have a couple more of those here later in the show. But right now, Grant Goodwin, my co-host, Sideline to Sideline. We've been talking 4A and 3A football for 15 years. And, of course, we love to talk Brock and we love to talk Franklin. And so we're about to talk Brock versus Franklin. This segment being brought to you by Patty's Casino. Now, Patty's Casino is a food truck. She started in January. They're located in Weatherford, but they don't have a permanent spot. They do catering, they do events and things like that. And I'm going to tell you what, the food is absolutely wonderful. They make maybe the best carne asada in the area. So check them out. You can give her a call, 806-382-0695, or email them, pattysmobilefoods@gmail.com. You can also find them on Facebook. Just type in Patty's Casino and check them out if you're in the Weatherford area. Great street tacos, the carne asada, as I said. So check out Patty's Casino. And we appreciate them for being a sponsor here on this Brock Franklin State Championship preview show. Now here's Mr. Goodwin. All right, Grant, this is one of the big heavyweight battles, in my opinion, this week. You've got Brock, you've got Franklin. Franklin, defending state Division II champ, now in Division I. Brock lost to Lorena last year in the Division I state championship. This is one of those games I could see it going either way.
Yeah, man. Let's look at Brock first off. Came in where I really think they could have been considered an underdog against Malakoff last week, and just came into the Star, the Ford Center, and absolutely imposed their will on both sides of the ball against Malakoff. they're going to need that type of performance again up front, especially defensively against this Franklin team with Bryson Washington and Jaden Jackson out of that slot T, man, because this game is going to be won or lost in the interior lines.
Yeah, but I think for Brock, this is going to sound weird because we're talking about the defending state champ, but of all the teams, of the top teams of Region 3 that came out, and you and I had identified way early that it was going to be a Region 3 team in the state championship game. I think this is the best matchup for Brock because I think teams like Columbus and Hitchcock, the one issue Brock has defensively is smaller corners, and at times they got exposed because of the aggressive defensive style. With Franklin, you're not going to have to worry about that.
Well, if you were asking me to Brock to pick a game, pick a team I wanted to play, I wouldn't have picked Franklin, though.
I'm just saying matchup.
I know what you mean.
But yeah, physicality and all
think
that.
Because Brock, I think the strength of this Brock team is definitely the defensive line.
Yeah.
Right? By far, that's their strength. And that's what it's going to take to slow down a Franklin team is a good defensive line that can just muck it up and play that for 4 quarters. And Brock is one of the only ones in the state that I can think of in 3A Division I that can do that.
Yeah, but the thing is they're going to have to do it 45 times. And with Franklin, and we've seen this. We saw this against Wascom last year. We saw it in the state championship game against Gunner last year. You can control Franklin for 8 snaps, but if 2 of those snaps are 60-yard touchdowns, you're still down 14-0 no matter what.
Right. And don't forget, Franklin can go on long, sustained drives as well.
16 plays.
Yep,
78 yards to win against Columbus.
Will that be as easy against this Brock defensive front? Probably not, but I think there's big plays to be had for Franklin. Let's look at Brock's offense versus Franklin's defense. Franklin's defense, if you'll go back, they've given up only 13 to a very good offensive team in Edna with Jaden Clay at quarterback. Only gave up 21 against a very potent Columbus offense. And then gave up, maybe 18, I guess it was, to Hitchcock, another pretty potent offense as well. So Franklin's defense has shown to be, they're the real deal. Now, Brock at times has struggled offensively.
Yes.
Tyler Moody sometimes. We saw him 2 weeks ago with a horrible first half against Whitesboro, and it looked like Whitesboro had that game. It was theirs for the taking, but Tyler Moody came out in the second half and played a lot better. He played really good last week. He's got really good receiver in Jet Jones, and then Brett Tutter, Reed Watkins, and Zach Brewster really help him out on the ground.
Yeah, that's the one negative for Brock and keeping me from going, hey, I think Brock wins for sure, is that offense has been inconsistent. Now, both of these teams defensively, they don't look as good as a lot of other teams coming into state. Both of them give up around 19 points a game. But again, that's who they've both played. Mm-hmm. And that's the one fun thing about this game is, in other games, we talked about it with Gunner and Poth. Hey, has Poth played anybody, blah, blah, blah. And we'll do that in a couple of. You can't make that case with these two. Both of these teams have played absolute damn tough schedules.
Yeah.
I know Franklin's 15-0, but I don't think Franklin would be 15-0 with Brock's schedule, and I don't think Brock would be 15-0 with Franklin's schedule.
Right.
I think this is as even as you can get. This is one of those, I hate to cop it out, but this is definitely, in my opinion, one of those penalties and turnovers. That's going to decide this game. And
field position, again, will make a big difference as well.
Exactly.
In this one.
And
especially with Brock's offense against the Franklin defense. I think if Franklin gives Brock some gifts field position wise, I think that is not a good thing. And vice versa though. Brock doesn't want to gift Franklin the 40-yard line every time as well. But I think this is a toss-up, but I am going Franklin in a very close one.
I'm going Brock in a close one. I think that they're kind of relishing that they get to be the underdogs for once. Because, last year, until the game, almost everybody said, Lorena, it's a great story, but Brock's going to win. And Lorena kind of surprised. But this is the first time that Brock, to my opinion, in the state championship is truly, truly the underdog. And I think they relish it. Either way, I think this is the best game that we're going to have this week. And I have Brock winning a thriller, like a 38-35 type of game.
This is a shout-out to the Brock Eagles for their return trip to AT&T Stadium for the 3A Football State Championship. 2 years in a row. What a ride it's been.
Tyler Moody, we're so proud of you. Your hard work and dedication never cease to amaze us. You're a true playmaker. Now go get that ring.
Go Eagles!
Brock.
Are you feeling locked into a boring fitness routine and you're looking to change it up? Don't think you have enough time in your closed schedule to fit exercise in? Want to unlock the keys to your DNA so it will work for you and not against you? Then let Live Fit by Katrina get you keyed up for your health. Contact Katrina for the keys to your personal success at livefitbykatrina.com to schedule a call. That's livefitbykatrina.com. Terry Bennett back here on the Brock versus Franklin preview show. We're now joined by the head coach of the Brock Eagles, Coach Billy Mathis. And, Coach, first off, congratulations getting back to the state championship game. After last year, you made it and you lost. We've talked about it all year, but you did a really, really tough non-district schedule, and I think the last 2 weeks of the playoffs, all that has paid off.
Oh, man. First off, man, just thank God for the opportunity, to be here again and, to be at a great place like Brock. And you're right. It's, it's exciting where we're, you go and have a chance to go play against one of the best teams in the state and, in the Franklin Lions. But, it goes back to everything that we worked on, right? From off season to track to all that stuff to setting up a tough non-district schedule. And get us ready, for these games. And you're right, going playing Whitesboro, the Malakoff. Man, you want to talk about running through a gauntlet. And I was so excited for our boys. They never panicked. They played their tails off, and I think we're playing our best football that we've played.
I was going to say that Malakoff game, everybody said all week, oh, well, Brock's been great, but they're not going to be able to handle the athleticism of Malakoff. And I kept pointing out, look, they've played Pleasant Grove, who's more athletic. They played Wimberley, who's in a state championship, and Gunner, who's in a state championship. And I thought watching last week that you could kind of tell your guys were like, okay, we've seen this before. We're good.
I agree 100%. And, there's nothing that anybody can't throw at us that we hadn't already seen, right? From big giant offensive linemen to some of the best running backs in the state. We've played, from Hershey to Gunner to Pleasant Grove to all of them, right? I mean, it is. There's nothing that we haven't seen, nothing that we hadn't played. So there is no surprise to us, right? It's pretty simple when you get to this point in time, right? You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe in each other. And that's where our guys are right now. They're hungry. They're excited. I feel like we're as healthy as we've been, all year. So, getting all that stuff and riding this confidence, of where we're at and going and shutting down Malakoff the way we did, our guys, we knew how fast they were. We knew how explosive they were. And that fear of them beating us, man, it does a lot to 16, 17-year-old kids of getting them mind right and getting them ready.
Well, and after all that, after the tough schedule, you might be playing the toughest team you've seen this year, which is how it should be in a state championship game. But tell us what your thoughts are on the Franklin Lions.
Man, it's as good as any team that I've seen in a long time. Those two running backs, with Washington back there, he's all business. He's what makes them go, and his ability to not only run the ball hard, but man, if he gets out in the open, he's fast enough to go 90 on anybody, and they do such a great job of their offensive line getting up there. They break the huddle fast, and those guys fight. They're not the biggest guys in the world, but they are solid. They fight, they go, they play their tails off. And then defensively, they're as good as anybody. They're not going to line up. They're not doing anything tricky. They're not lining up, moving dudes around or jumping into 4 or 5 different fronts. They line up and say, give us your best. We're going to go and we're going to go beat it. So, our hands are full, and just like you said, but that's the way it's supposed to be in a state championship. You're not here, you're not playing any cream puffs. These are the 2 best teams in the state of Texas right now that are about to go head to head. And I'm excited, just being here and the boys being here and, having that loss last year has really, they remember that, and they that feeling of it's terrible, right? It's terrible to think how bad it was to get all the way here to lose. And it's been a driving force and a driving factor for us all season long.
Yeah, I was going to say the one thing about this matchup is both of y'all have been here a lot. Franklin finally won it last year, but they had been a couple years and not won it. But you and I were talking off the air, and one of the things about this week that a lot of people don't realize is just how crazy it is. It's kind of like homecoming on steroids.
It is, and both teams are, got great fan bases, and, we get to go play at Jerry's World and do everything that everybody dreams of, right? They're coming back as the defending state champions. We're coming back as, second place team. So, we both, there's no doubt in my mind, both teams want it as badly as each other, right? And this is one of those games, man, that two teams that are going to go out there and, you got to go be the toughest dudes out there on the field. And, we're going to go out there and we're going to lay it all on line, and it's going to turn out the way it's supposed to turn out. And you can be happy with that and excited about that. I'm just excited for our opportunity to go win this football game.
For you personally, 2 years at Brock, 2 state championship appearances. You've started to instill your stuff and what you do. What does this mean for you personally as a coach?
It's something that you always dream of as a coach, to get to the state championship games, and I was lucky enough to win 3 as an assistant, and as a defensive coordinator. But it is different when you're the head coach. And I think the biggest deal, really for me, is I just want it so badly for these kids, and I want it for the coaches that have never had the opportunity to win a state championship. It's a feeling like no other. It's a special thing. It's so exciting. There's nothing better than going all Christmas break and seeing the replays playing and knowing that you'd won the state championship. Just a way to go finish the season. That was probably the toughest part last year. You're proud of making it to the state championship. You're excited and all that. And, I'm not ever going to let anybody steal that joy from me. But it hurts watching those seniors go off the field knowing that they'll never have another chance. And, and as the head coach, I want to take care of everybody. I want everybody, happy. I want everybody, the way it's supposed to be. But it doesn't always turn out that way, and it didn't last year. But we get another chance this year. And, as the head coach, it's my job to get them prepared and ready. And we're going to be as prepared and ready as we've ever been.
Hi, this is Chris Daly. You know me from Lone Star Gridiron, but you may also know me from Board Game Legends. That's right. 2018, we came out with the game Friday Night Legends, in which originally it was just Texas high school football teams that you could play against each other in this board game based on their real stats. So you could take the 1983 Dangerfield team and you could play them against Johnny Manziel's Kerrville-Tivy team, or maybe that great 2015 Katy Tigers team. Whichever teams you want, you can play. It's a great board game. It has expanded now and covers the entire country. In fact, we just had some German teams added to the thing because Germany, there's a lot of U.S. military bases, so there's a lot of U.S. schools there, and they play high school football. So weirdly enough, we have international high school football teams now in that game. But what we like to do is play these state championships using Friday Night Legends. We just didn't have time this time around because it's been a very busy, very wonderful Texas high school football season. So instead, I'm going to tell you what I think would happen if we had played these games. All right? And rest assured, within a week of state championship being over, all of these teams that have appeared at the 2022 UIL state championship football games, all of these teams will be available for Friday Night Legends. You can get them at FridayNightLegends.com or BoardGameLegends.com. All right, 3A D1, we have Brock at 11-4 going up against Franklin at 15-0. Franklin is one of those teams that people have been handing the crown to all season. Since before the season even started, Brock started off slow, but if you look at their schedule, they played some very, very tough teams. Yes, they got some losses, but they played some teams larger than them, and they played them very close. They played teams that are playing still in the state championship. Franklin has been rolling through people. Franklin is the heir apparent. Franklin is the one that was there last, and I tell you, there's no intelligent reason not to pick Franklin. I've never claimed to be intelligent, though. I'm going to go with Brock just because they've been so well tested, traditionally They're a good program. Yes, they've lost more state championships than they've won, but they know how to win. I'm going with Brock. And I tell you, if the result is not the one you like at the end of the day, pick up Friday Night Legends, replay the game, make the decisions you think should have been made, and see if you can win with the team that didn't.
Hey, football fans, Christmas is right around the corner. We have the perfect gift for your high school football fan in your life. Friday Night Legends, the board game. With Friday Night Legends, you can play the greatest high school teams of all time against each other based on their real stats. That means you can play the 1989 Odessa Permian Panthers of Friday Night Lights fame against the 2017 Mater Day team and really see who's the better team. Or what about Peyton Manning's Newman High School in New Orleans against Trevor Lawrence's Cartersville, Georgia team? There are thousands of teams in the library from all over the United States. Get your copy of Friday Night Legends at BoardGameLegends.com and be the hero of Christmas morning.
Terry Bennett back here on this Brock versus Franklin pre-game preview, whatever you want to call it. By the way, I want to remind you we're going to be doing post-game shows, but we're going to do one post-game show per night of football, or all day of football, I should say, instead of trying to do a post-game for each individual show. That's just that all gets mixed up together, and people don't know what they're listening to. And I'm not joking; we've had that happen before. So we're just going to do one post-game show. It's going to be video, and we'll post the links on our social media pages: Sideline to Sideline, Lone Star Gridiron. You can also find it at LoneStarGridiron.com. All right, let's get some more Brock shout-outs. Brock shout-out is for senior Dakota Courtney. Dakota, what a year it's been so far. We've watched in amazement as you've grown into the godly man that you are today, and we're watching with anticipation to see what God has in store with you for your future. With your talent, determination, and work ethic, the sky's the limit. Keep your faith first and dream big. We're so proud of you and grateful to be your parents. We love you, Dad, Mom, and Sequoia. This shout-out's from the Brock Quarterback Club. You can find them on Twitter, by the way, at Brock QB Club. They say, go Brock, bring home the title. Have a great game against Franklin. Also from the Tanner family, they say, go Brock, beat Franklin. All right, now we're going to hear from Matt Diggs. If you don't know who Matt Diggs is, he's been covering high school football as long as I have, and that means it's been a very, very long time. 20 years for him. He just got named last year as the 2022 Putt Pal Sports Writer of the Year. He's a DFW Varsity Celebrity Pick'em Challenge champion. He loves to bring that up. He always loves to bring that up. You can also find him on DFW's Inside High School Sports. That's on NBC Channel 5 out of Dallas. He also does the District 4 3A Professor Diggs Report, talking all things District 4 3A, which, of course, is Brock. He does that through PilotPointBearcats.com. By the way, check out them. They're great covering Pilot Point sports and everything. You can find them on Twitter at PPBear. Cat blog, just giving a free shout out to them because we really like the work they do there, and we really like the work that Matt Diggs does on the 4-3A report. A longtime friend, and I'm proud to have him here on this show. This one is sponsored by Everyday Sprinkles. They've just moved to Brock. They offer buttercream cakes, unique small treats. They offer birthday cakes, wedding cakes, gender reveal cakes, and any other special events you need. Cupcakes, cake sickles, mini cheesecakes, and so much more. Man, I'm getting hungry now with all this food. Check out Everyday Sprinkles on Instagram or Facebook at Everyday Sprinkles to get more information. You can also email them everydaysprinkles1@gmail.com. Thank you, Shaylee. All right, Matt, this is a game that you know one of the teams for sure very well, as you had a district podcast for Brock this year, talking all the teams inside their district. Of course, they're taking on Franklin. You've got a defending state champion versus a state finalist from last year. This, to me, is one of the marquee matchups, and I think one of the best games of the week. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. The District 4-3A podcast, one of the favorite things I do every year. It's like I get to embrace my inner Terry for 30 minutes every week, and it makes me happy. You know, I mean, how many times can you talk about Duncanville and Den Guyer and South Lake Carroll? It all gets repetitive. But, you know, getting to talk about Peaster and getting to talk about Ponder was one of my favorite stories of the year. I know that they were a fun team to watch, even though they were very inconsistent. And the fact that Brock went from that 0-4 schedule, 0-4 start, and everybody, you know, in the wars with Dave Campbell about should they be ranked, should they not be ranked, and they didn't have the courage to keep them ranked when they were 0-4. But now that they're 2-4, we can kind of stick them back in there. And then they're going to go back to I told you so. See, we talked about that. They completely sold their Brock stock. But to be fair, I sold my Brock stock as well when I thought Whitesboro was the better team. And I would still say kind of even now, sorry, Brock fans.
Okay, so hang on.
Replay that game.
Hang on.
I might take Whitesboro again.
I'm going to cut you off there because this is where you're going to have fun. How can Whitesboro be a better team when they're 0-2 against Brock this year?
I know. I mean, it was that close. I mean, you look at the second game and go, okay, one was 11. First game was a friggin' inch. I mean, come on. I mean, that's how
and the
close
second game was way
was.
better than the score too. That game's a lot closer than 30-19.
The arena got too big for them. I
agree. And that was my argument for them in the playoffs. Both years they didn't get pushed until the Brock game, and both years they buckled when it came down to it.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to have that experience, and Franklin has that experience. And you know, I kind of joked about it, that you know, you talk about the wrestling metaphors. I annoyed all 3A champion last year because you know they beat Lorena and Lorena beat Brock. So I mean, you can kind of look at that and go, okay, Franklin not only was the 3A Division II champion, and they beat the heck out of Gunner, and then they. Completely. And I know you are probably one who does not like looking at last year's results as any sort of, barometer of this. And I get it to a certain extent, but the fact that we are talking about the same teams over and over and over again gives a little bit of credence to the fact that, that you can look at some of the tradition and some of the players because, the team, the people who are coming back have now had 32 games. When they play this game, it'll be their 32nd game. And, you look at kids like Bryson Washington and Jaden Jackson as just where I was completely wrong, and this is where I could be wrong about this game with Brock and Malakoff, was I was unexpected. I was shocked to see how much bigger Brock was than Malakoff on the lines.
Yes.
I was, just like, once I first played the game, I'm like, I made a mistake, folks. I'm sorry. This is not going to go the way I thought, and I think Malakoff knew that because their first three plays, they threw the ball, and it's a running team. So I think they knew that they were going to have to get out quick and try to get a big play and do something down the field. And if I look at that across the field, because I haven't seen Franklin this year, and it's that kind of disparity again, I'm going to be wrong again. But if Franklin has had some really burner games against Columbus and then in their district against Joe and Lorena, they have had a lot of banger games. And to be fair, Brock has too. Brock had the big four, take Whitesboro twice, Paradise and Bushland. They've had some really good games as well. So I think, relative to what we saw against Malakoff kind of had a below average region 2 that we all kind of propped up as, okay, well, there's Grandview and, a lot of the big names that we're used to, but they only were kind of playing those kind of teams. And once we had our first region 1 versus region 2 thing, which happens in the state semifinals, sometimes you get just a complete mismatch. And Brock versus Malakoff, I don't even think the score was indicative of how much of a mismatch that was. Without that late punt return at the end of the game, that was, 21-3, and Brock, could have probably made it 28-3 if they weren't just trying to get the clock out and get to the state title game. All that being said, I think Franklin has to be considered a favorite because you got Ric Flair theory, you got the team. I mean, they beat Gunter last year, they beat Lorena last year. They're not going to be scared of Brock, and if their offensive line has at least even if it's 60-40 Brock, where it's not this big, huge disparity like it was against Malakoff, then I think Franklin is going to win this game, especially with their talent. I love the players at Brock. I think Brock has a lot going on, but now you're going to ask them, can they go prior to that without those kind of big mistakes and big mental gaffes that they had over, as we argued on Facebook, 12 of 13 straight is more of a trend. It's not just a one-off kind of a thing.
Exactly.
But now they put together 2 straight weeks and they're feeling themselves. And I think what Coach Mathis has done to get this team to believe is next level, a very good coaching job. And I think that comes from he knows what it's like to be here. He knows what it's like to get this team up. So I think coaching has an edge for Brock. I think special teams has an edge for Brock. I think skill players, Franklin's going to have the advantage. And if the line is even, I got to take Franklin.
Hey, gang, Christmas is just around the corner, and I have the perfect gifts for the sports fan and game lover in your family. Board Game Legends, yes, the company that brought you Friday Night Legends, has a whole host of very cool games. Friday Night Legends allows you to play Texas high school football teams against each other based on their real stats. You can play the state champion Shiner Comanches against the state champion Mart Panthers, or perhaps one of the famous state championship Katy Tigers squads going up against Kyler Murray's Allen State Championship team. You name it, it's limitless who you can play. In addition, we also have Saturday Legends. It does the exact same thing for college football. So if you want the Convicts versus the Catholics, that famous game, Lou Holtz's Notre Dame Fighting Irish against Jimmy Johnson's Miami Hurricanes, you can play that. It is limitless, the number of matchups you can have in that game too. But before you think it's all football, Board Game Legends also has a game called Basketball Legends. In this one board game, you can play high school basketball. You can play college basketball. You can play professional basketball. You can play WNBA. You can play world basketball. You name it. In our library, we have teams for every type of basketball, all in one game. To learn about the games and order these in time for Christmas, go to BoardGameLegends.com.
Terry Bennett back here as we wrap up the Franklin versus Brock Class 3A Division I State Championship. We can't end it without hearing from the legend himself, Coach X. If you don't know, Coach X is a real coach. He coaches in Texas. He's won state championships, and each and every week he sends Sideline to Sideline, our show, his humorous views on who's going to win the games that we talk about and some other fun stuff. And for all the jokes we have about us fighting on the air, he's great. I love him. And Coach X, he gives his pick on this. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get with him. This is being sponsored by Eagle Nest Travel Center. You can find them online at eaglesnesttravelcenter.com. More importantly, though, if you need to stop in Brock, you can find them at exit 397 and I-20 in Brock, Texas. Grant and I, whenever we go to a Brock game or we're near there, we usually stop by there. And I'm not just saying that because they're advertising. We didn't even know who it was until I got contacted with them to do a spot here. But we've stopped there before. We absolutely love the place. And also 397 Ham. That's 397 Ham. They're never frozen. They're always fresh. I love Terry Lee. We were talking, and he said he's in the ham business, and he is knee-deep. They're taking orders through the new year for the holidays. You can find them online at 397honeyham.com. You can also go to Facebook and just type in 397 Honey Ham or Eagle Nest Travel Center. Terry Lee owns both of those. We're going to be talking with them about doing more in the future for our Brock show, so we do appreciate Mr. Lee. Again, that's eaglenesttravelcenter.com and 397honeyham.com, located at exit 397 and I-20 in Brock, Texas. Now, here is Coach X. All right, you claim we talked about them all the time, and we did because of the schedule, but we also have shown why these two teams are here and why we did talk about them all the time on Sideline to Sideline. Coach X, Brock versus Franklin. I've said this on every segment, and I'll keep saying it. I think this is going to be one of the best games of the week.
This is the Sideline to Sideline ball.
It really is.
It's just torn apart because you know. You got Grant putting one of these two teams on the pick sheet every week. One of them is on it, and I bet if you went back and researched it from week 1 to the semifinal week, they're on there.
at least I would say 12 out of the 15 shows, one of these teams is on there.
Oh, man.
And you got, you're in an L475 clothing studio. So, there's that going, with the whole Brock thing. And his kids are on the sideline making highlight videos and all that good stuff for the Brock Eagles. But no, this game is going to be like slap you in the mouth, hit you over and over and over again. Linemen picking dudes up off the ground. I mean, just old school, just heavyweight kids out at recess that don't like each other, just squared off, just fighting up at each other for 48 minutes of the game.
I contend that of all the teams that came out of Region 3, because we all kind of figured whoever came out of Region 3 would probably beat Region 4, I contend that this is the best possible matchup that Brock could have got, because if they'd have got Columbus or Hitchcock, or even let's say a Yo, the one weakness Brock has is their secondary is a little short, and at times they can be beat by playmakers. Against Franklin, you're going to have to worry about them throwing it too much.
Yeah, that's true. And be careful what you say about Columbus. You don't want to get, like I haven't seen Grant since, we talked about Columbus. So make sure, I think they pushed him off the edge of the earth because what did he say? Like they were soft or something like that?
He was that was the third show we recorded 2 weeks ago, and he said that we're making our picks and we both went Franklin, but I said I think it'll be a really close game. I think it could be a one possession game, and Grant it was late in the night and he was feeling his energy drink. He just went off on this how Franklin was just going to do dirty things to Columbus, and Columbus was basically going to be either begging them off or telling them that you're beating us so bad we want it more. I mean, it was amazing. He goes on about one of those every couple years where you just go, wow. And I was amazed, and I laughed because he was wrong. But, yeah, Columbus was not happy with him.
Yeah, I think the Grove and several other large men showed up at Grant's house, and I haven't talked to him since then. After that, with some pipes and some chains or something like that, apparently. I remember one time I was listening to y'all, and it was Garrison. They were talking about Garrison was playing somebody, maybe Newton or something like that. And he was talking about he was buddies with the quarterback's mom, or his girlfriend was, or something like that. And he, I think he had a couple of cervezas or cocktails, and he goes, "Yeah, that kid's a really nice kid, but you know what? Screw him." Whoa, dude. It's like, yeah, but screw y'all. Y'all aren't going to beat Newton or Wascom or Dangerfield or whoever the hell it was they were playing. And I was just like, oh, man, that guy just burned a bridge. Which Grant's good at that. And
that is true.
And destroying bathrooms. But no, you're right. I mean, Franklin's not going to make any bones about, hey guys, we're going to run the ball here, and we're going to run it there, and we're going to run it everywhere. We're going to give it to Washington, and then the other number one, or
Jay Jackson.
His name, but yeah, and then the other, then for the last almost I guess ever, they just roll in 3 or 4 guys that are not as good as the starters, but you wouldn't kick them off your team if they were on your team.
Yeah,
and still fully capable football players. So. And Brock's going to match you physically. And it's not like they haven't seen stuff that Franklin does, when they played Pleasant Grove and the big boys that they played this year. Oh, and they played Wimberley, who's also playing for the 4AD1 state championship too.
Hang on real quick. Stop right there, because you bring up a good point. And you're a coach, and you have played in a season where you played against really tough opponents. And how much does that really help a team later on in the year? Is it as important as we make it out to be?
I mean, it's not unimportant. I mean, and when you don't play anybody, if you're in a district where, it's just like you and everybody else, yeah, it does, because your kids aren't used to playing that long. Like I watched it Carthage and Glenrose, and Carthage, is pretty much the king of Region 2 and the king of East Texas right now. And once they get up on people, it's kind of like everybody says uncle, or just says, all right, this is happening. And well, the game that I watched against Glenrose didn't. And for the whole third quarter, it looked like I was sitting there watching with a buddy of mine, and I said, Carthage doesn't know what to do. They haven't been in a game in a long time. And, how much does China Spring start creeping in those kids' heads from last year? And when they started fumbling, and people in the stands were hollering at the kids, and what are we doing? And it's like, this can get, because it was fixing to get out of hand.
Yeah.
Carthage was fixing to walk them. And then when the touchdown got called back, and then they fumbled, and then Glenrose scored, and then they fumbled, and Glenrose scored, and you started looking around, and the people in the stands were going, this wasn't supposed to happen. Well, Brock has had some, not only just the heavy hitters that they played non-district, they had some tight district games, with Whitesboro and Paradise were obviously pretty dang good football teams this year. And so they've been in some games. But now I'm saying all that, Franklin played in the toughest district in the state.
Yep.
And you're not going to convince me otherwise. And it's not like they went out and played a bunch of spares in non-district either. They didn't have the pedigree of the Wimberleys and the Pleasant Groves that Brock played, but they played some dang good football teams in non-district. And guess what? They beat them all. So they're just as good, and they've played just as tough a schedule as the Eagles have. Now, the thing, like you said, whoever comes out of Region 3 was going to, just whip Region 4. But I was worried that whoever came out of Region 3 would just be beat to hell.
Yeah.
Because of who they had to play. And, as much as Grant thought Columbus was full of sissies, they were dang good. They were really, really, really good football team, and might prove to be the second best team in the state after everything's said and done, because I'm picking Franklin. And if they beat Brock, 14, 21 points, which I'm not saying they will, but they could, maybe we'd look at that, Columbus game that Grant said Columbus was soft. That's right, Jeremy. I'm just hammering home for you. They might have been the second best team in the state of Texas, because they were beating Franklin.
Yeah.
And for the whole game, pretty much, weren't they? I mean, Franklin scored, 10 seconds left in the game?
Yeah, 16 play, 78-yard drive.
Yeah. So I'm going with Coach Fannin and the Lions. And, Franklin's been good since 1972 or whatever the case may be. And Brock's been good since 2012 when they started playing football, instantly good. Amazing how that works out. So, maybe living close to Aledo helps out too. But I'm going with Franklin and the Lions because they both played tough schedules. Franklin has won 31 games in a row. Great streak, and sometimes streaks come to an end. I remember when Gunner lost to Newton after losing 31 games in a row, and everybody's like, whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen. Well, they were playing a pretty dang good football team. So with that being said, if Brock wins, it would not surprise me, but I'm picking the Lions.
I want to thank Coach X. I want to thank Matt Diggs, Grant Goodwin, Chris Daly, of course, both coaches, Billy Mathis of Brock, Mark Fannin of Franklin, Walter Commander, and John Elmore of Franklin. All the Brock shout-outs, Everyday Sprinkles, Patty's Casino Truck, Eagles Nest Travel Center, Honey Ham, 397 Honey Ham, Live Fit by Katrina, all the people that made this show possible. I do want to thank every one of y'all and thank everybody for the great year we had, not only on Sideline to Sideline, but on the Brock ISD show, on the Franklin ISD show once we started those in the playoffs. Man, for 2 3A schools, we get a ton of listens for those shows, and we do appreciate that. Y'all have made this website and these shows on all the podcast platforms absolutely explode in listenership. We appreciate that. We love the feedback. Even when you are not happy with who we pick, we love it. Remember, it's all just a game, and we're just here talking a game. But we do appreciate everybody. Always remember, you can find us on LoneStarGridiron.com, on Twitter at LSGridiron, at Grant and Terry, at LSPN100. Find us on Facebook, Lone Star Gridiron, or Sideline to Sideline, or I should say, and Sideline to Sideline. Have a very, 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 very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Whatever you may celebrate, enjoy it. Enjoy the football. Be safe in your travels and enjoy this one. This is a great game, folks. This is one of those games that when you think about state, this is a game you're thinking about. Brock versus Franklin. Two powerhouses going at it. May the best team win. And the great thing is both of them will probably be back next year as well. Until next time, I'm Terry Bennett. You have been listening to the Class 3A Division I State Championship Preview Show. Brock versus Franklin on the LSG Sports Network.